Hello there, YouTube. So as I'm sure you can notice if you've seen my other videos, I have a microphone now, and it's because some brilliant kid in my media class told me that I can use my Rock Band microphone for recording purposes on my computer. So thank him for not having to strain your ears anymore. All right. So this is a video response to Collectivism, aka Socialism, Communism, Abominism, by Dark Prince. And I'd just like to start by saying, you're right on a lot of things. You're right about how collectivism sucks, and you're right on some things, and on other things you're totally not. So, here we go. For one thing, a lot of your arguments, they're against republicanism. They're against the idea that we vote for these people, the good charismatic talkers in nice suits, and they go to Washington and they represent us and they rule us pretty much. And you get to vote for either this guy who's similarly bad but talks better than this guy, and you get the choice between the two, and they both suck, and you're just screwed either way. That's what a lot of your arguments are against. And I mean, that'd be fine if your video had been named Republicanism, but it wasn't. It was named Collectivism. And I mean, obviously the two aren't they are mutually exclusive, but I mean, one can have a state that claims to be both a republic and a collectivist society, aka the Soviet Union. So, yeah, a lot of your arguments weren't really against collectivism as it is collectivism in its pure state. More so, they were against republicanism. You say that capitalism is more conducive to productivity, and it's more conducive to the advancement of the people. It's better for the people as far as economic gain, and I would contend that that is not true. It's better for the bourgeois as far as economic gain. Certainly, it's better for the people who sit on their asses in their big tall buildings with their nice clean suits and do nothing all day and make billions and billions of dollars. While the workers in the factories or the worker behind the desk who's doing all the work gets $8 an hour. Yeah, it's better for the upperclassmen there, but it doesn't represent the people. And it inherently it disposes of the considerations of the lower class and paves the way for the advancement of the upper class. In your video, you say that it's been proven again and again that collectivist societies are not as productive as capitalist societies, and I would contend that you haven't pointed out any collectivist societies. I mean, I assume you're talking about the Soviet Union. I assume you're talking about, Cuba, Communist China, North Korea, North Vietnam, whatever, all these communist countries. But a Marxist country cannot be Marxist and still compete on a capitalist market. And that's exactly what all of these countries have been doing for the past 100 years that Marxism has been a reality. What they've done is, in their revolution, they've deposed of the bourgeois, they've deposed of private ownership of the means of production and replaced it with institutionalized, nationalized ownership of the means of production. What they've done is they've nationalized the profit system. I mean, it's the same profit system. It's just it's clothed differently. Maybe they put a little bit of makeup on it, so it doesn't look so ugly. But it's the same profit system. Don't let it fool you. And what does that mean for the people? Absolutely nothing. They're still working their hours in their jobs, except they're working for the people. They're working for the suits who have taken over their country, their state. It's not any different. They're working in the same factories. They're working in the same sweatshops. They're getting similar amounts of money, or maybe less amounts of money, depending on what the situation is. But it's not a government for society. It's not socialism. It's not communism. It's not for the community. It's for the new bourgeois, the new upper class. Okay, here's a quote from you in your video. You said that there's a growing minority or something of people that feel entitled to everything, regardless of how productive they may be. Regardless of how productive they may be. So only the productive are entitled. Only the productive, only the people who are the smarter or the more the more able are should be given, you know, recognition. That's immoral. I mean, I know people who are just as willing to work. I know people who maybe are a little less smart, maybe can't provide the same quality of work, but they're just as willing to work. They're not freeloaders by any means, and they're just discarded by the system. They're just the capitalists say, "No, you are no use to us. You know, we're not going to pay you nearly as much as we pay for this smart guy who's working less than you, or maybe this idiot who's working less than you who just happened to have a lucky idea or something." What you're doing is you're turning people into a commodity, something to be bought and sold, a piece of equipment that maybe you can just throw out when it loses its usefulness. You're denying the human element in all of it. I mean, you're turning people into a means of production. You're turning people into factories that you can decommission when they're no longer useful or they're no longer productive, and it's disgusting. That idea that only the productive deserve, it's disgusting. I want no part of it. And then you go on to refer to those who are unable to produce as well as parasitic organisms. I thought that was interesting. Again, horrendous. Just the concept. It's disgusting. You make similar arguments to pretty much everyone else on YouTube that you only recognize the legal variations of oppression and you discard the economic variations of oppression. You don't regard economic oppression as being a legitimate threat, a legitimate institution. And I mean, it's just not realistic. Travel to Africa and tell me that, or the sweatshops in Asia, or I mean, even people in Latin America. Travel to these places and try to tell me that economic oppression is not a reality. And I know you didn't say that in so many words, but I mean, you deny it. So. And I agree with you. I agree with you about republicanism and what you say that giving another person above you, voting for another person, and then giving them power above you is not conducive to individual liberty. I don't understand why anybody would think that it would be. You're arguing for more democracy in government, or more democracy, absolute democracy in government, I'm assuming, and that's what I'm arguing for. So we're on the same wavelength there. You're just taking it into collectivism, and I don't know why. Okay, so here's another quote from you during your video. Collectivist societies are notoriously poor and unproductive. So I heard that, and it got me thinking, and I did a little bit of research. And here's what I found out. The USSR in the year 1989, a couple years before its collapse, had a gross GDP that was second in the world, second to the United States, of $2,500 billion. And I mean, like I said, that's second in the world. That's outstripping all these other capitalist countries. Western Europe, Western Germany, whatever. It outstrips Tokyo, Beijing, all these capitalist countries. It's outstripping. And it's a collectivist country. Go figure. And the USSR managed to do it with an external debt at the time, again, 1989, of $26 billion. Whereas at the same time, the USA, United States, had an external debt of $400 billion. So, I mean, what does that mean for your argument that collectivist societies can't produce? Yeah, that's for you to decide. The United States is thriving. I'm not contending that, but at the expense of who? At the expense of all the workers in the sweatshops and all the workers who are making, less than minimum wage. The millions of people that are propping us up, propping the United States, the Americans up, they are now the lower class. Whereas the United States, our middle class is their upper class, and they're propping us up. So, we're thriving, but at the expense of who? At the expense of millions. That's who. And I mean, in your video, you talk about, not in so many words, but you keep making stabs at the Republic, at the voting system, at, voting in the people, like I said in the beginning of the video, the people who are going to Washington and are representing you, quote unquote, and, fucking everything up. But, I mean, and then you say you want to uphold the Constitution. I mean, You can do one or the other because the Constitution is what put that institution in place in the first place. So make up your mind. There's my thoughts on your video. Hope you like or don't, whatever.